Here are the top stories for today, February 20, 2020. The Sandigan Bayan affirms the dismissal of the forfeiture case against the late President Ferdinand Marcos and his family and cronies. President Duterte orders the relief of all immigration personnel tagged in the bribery of Chinese POGO workers. Leaders of indigenous peoples in Agusan del Norte express support in the campaign against NPA recruitment in schools. And the Philippines launches its nationwide sale to draw in more tourists on March 1.
Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The Sandigan Bayan upholds its decision to dismiss the 102 billion pesos forfeiture case against the late former President Ferdinand E. Marcos, former First Lady Imelda Marcos, and some of their cronies. In its resolution dated February 13, the anti-graft court noted that there is insufficiency in the evidences presented by the Philippine government to reconsider the dismissed August 5, 2019 decision against the Marcoses and their cronies. The Sandigan Bayan ruled that the Philippine government failed to present evidences that the accused illegally accumulated wealth. The court said it finds no reason to modify its original decision and denied the prosecutor's motion for reconsideration. Malacanang condemns the murder of the chief legal officer of the Bureau of Corrections while he was about to pick up his daughter from school Wednesday afternoon in Muntinlupa City. Santos had been among those who appeared before the Senate during a legislative inquiry into the anomalous implementation of the expanded good conduct time allowance law. Presidential spokesman Salvador Panelo said the incident was unlikely to affect the ongoing investigation, saying other individuals will come out to expose corrupt activities in the new Bilibid prison. He said the death of Santos will not stop the government from investigating the GCTA. Panelo also dismissed that it has anything to do with the government's crackdown on corruption, stressing Santos's ambush might have been the result of personal conflict. Reports showed that Santos was gunned down in front of the Southern Side Montessori School along Katihan Street in Barangay Poblacion as he was about to fetch his daughter from the school. The victim was on board a Toyota Hilux pickup when two unidentified men appeared and shot the victim's head before fleeing to an unknown direction. In August last year, Ruperto Traya Jr., Chief Administrative Officer 3 of Bucor, was also gunned down in Muntinlupa City. The Philippine government's temporary travel ban imposed on mainland China, Hong Kong and Macau and Taiwan due to the coronavirus disease outbreak has seen a reduction in the number of international and domestic tourists traveling to the country. The Manila International Airport Authority on Wednesday said the number of international passengers from January 25th to February 17 this year decreased by 16.74%, or 272,006 compared to 1,624,698 travelers recorded in the same period last year. The number of domestic passengers also dropped by 3%, or around 50,000 individuals in the same period. MIA General Manager Ed Monreal said he was optimistic that the partial lifting of the temporary travel ban on Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan would see an increase of international passengers visiting the country. Amid the threat of the coronavirus disease 2019, the Diocese of Caloocan will do away with the traditional marking of the cross on the forehead in Masses for Ash Wednesday. In a Facebook post on Wednesday, Caloocan Bishop Pablo Virgilio David said, "In place of imposing wet ashes on the forehead of the faithful, we can sprinkle a pinch of dry ashes on the crown or the top of their heads." He added that in place of holy water at the entrance doors, holy water can just be sprinkled on the faithful by the priests and lay ministers during the recessional. During the sign of peace, the people are encouraged to just bow their heads towards each other. Instead of taking the hand of the priest or our elders for a blessing, individuals can ask for the blessing verbally and receive it verbally as well. The vid also called on those who are fasting to just donate the money they saved. Catholics around the world will commemorate the Ash Wednesday on February 26, which marks the start of the 40-day season of Lent. A health official on Wednesday assures that all Filipino passengers and crew of the MV Diamond Princess who will request repatriation will be accommodated. And DepEd allows the resumption of different school activities. Janice Cave tells us more.
The Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases is now finalizing all the processes needed for the repatriation of all Filipino passengers and crew of the MV Diamond Princess. Assistant Health Secretary Maria Rosario Vergeire said those who are repatriated from the ship will again be placed under quarantine for 14 days as precaution against the spread of the new virus in the Philippines. Aside from overseas Filipino workers, students who are leaving to study abroad are also exempted from the Philippines travel ban to Hong Kong and Macau. In a DFA advisory dated February 19, the recent resolution allowed permanent residents of Hong Kong and Macau special administrative regions and Filipinos leaving to study abroad to travel to Hong Kong and Macau. The recent resolution also authorized Filipinos and their foreign spouses or children, as well as holders of diplomatic visas, entry into the Philippines, subject to the required 14-day quarantine. The Department of Education allowed the resumption of national, regional, and off-campus activities starting February 24. In a memorandum, DepEd said such activities may resume provided that all measures identified by the department in its previous memoranda and issuances by the Department of Health as regards to preventive measures against the coronavirus disease are strictly observed. DepEd reiterated the dedication of weekends for school-wide cleaning and intensified disinfection efforts apart from its regular cleaning on school days. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Still to come, the House of Representatives vows to accept a fiscally reasonable Senate version of the proposed Corporate Income Tax and Incentives Reform Act. Leaders of indigenous peoples in Agusan del Norte express support in the campaign against NPA recruitment in schools. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
We at the PCOO are at the forefront of bringing accurate facts and narratives and laying to rest speculation, hearsay, and unverified figures. Gramo highlights the tremendous successes of the government's initiatives as well as the challenges faced by the campaign, from the real stories of victims on the ground, the transformation of former drug users, the law enforcement operations, to the crackdown of rogue cops. The government will continue to implement strong enforcement of the law with consistent adherence and observance of human rights and dignity through rescue, rehabilitation, reformation, and ridding drug war operations of corruption.
President Rodrigo Duterte has ordered the relief of all officials and staff of the Bureau of Immigration tagged in the so-called pastillas bribery scheme involving Chinese workers of the Philippine offshore gaming operations industry. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo made the announcement Thursday, saying the officials and employees involved purportedly facilitated the entry into or exit from Philippine territory of foreigners working for POGOs for an unauthorized fee. The president's move comes in the wake of a Senate probe exposing the pastillas scheme allegedly run by several immigration officials that give Chinese nationals easy access to the country for a fee of 10,000 pesos. Panelo says President Duterte considers this an anomaly, a grave form of corruption which cannot and will never be countenanced by this government. The scheme is dubbed as pastillas because cash payments used to be distributed to immigration officials are rolled inside a sheet of bond paper resembling the pastillas wrapper. The House of Representatives is now open to accepting the Senate's version of the proposed Corporate Income Tax and Incentives Rationalization Act, or SITIRA, for as long as it is fiscally reasonable. In an aide memoir addressed to Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano, House Ways and Means Committee Chair Joey Salceda said he would continue working with the Senate to expedite the enactment of the SITIRA and end the uncertainty in the discussions. Salceda said the House may accept a Senate version of the SITIRA that is fiscally acceptable to avoid the uncertainty and policy distortions that a bicameral conference can sometimes cause, and to end the long and repetitive discussions. Salceda, however, noted that his panel would object to a version that retains the grant of tax incentives in perpetuity. The Philippine delegation, led by PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar, met with the Filipino community, Philippine Embassy staff, and the local media in Paris, France, to present the gains made by the administration of President Duterte and its campaign against illegal drugs. Benj Bondoc has the story.
The Presidential Communications Operations Office engaged the international community to amplify the achievements of the Duterte administration, particularly in the protection and promotion of human rights through its anti-illegal drugs campaign. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar on Tuesday kicked off the event with a ceremonial turnover of the anti-illegal drugs campaign documentary film titled Gramo to the Philippine Embassy in Paris, followed by a film showing session. Gramo highlights the tremendous successes of the government's initiative as well as the challenges faced by the campaign, from the real stories of victims on the ground, the transformation of former drug users, law enforcement operations, and crackdown on road cops. Andanar also highlighted an October Social Weather Stations survey which showed that fewer families, or about 5.6%, feel victimized by common crimes in the third quarter of 2019 from 7% in the previous quarter. The DILG meanwhile reported an 11% drop in crime volume in July 2019 compared to the previous year. The PCOO chief also noted that 8 out of 10 Filipinos are satisfied with the government's anti-illegal drug campaign, and that 73% of Filipinos believe the number of drug users has dropped since Duterte took office in July 2016. Philippine Ambassador to France Maria Teresa Lazaro lauded the efforts of the PCOO in engaging the Filipino community and the international media in Paris. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondoc.
And in our business news, shipments from China registered marked decline in the first 15 days of February 2020 on account of the lower production and deliveries amid the coronavirus disease. Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez on Wednesday showed that the number of 20-foot equivalent unit containers from China fell by 62.15% in the first half of this month. Dominguez earlier said they were concerned on the imports data from China, but cited that the slack will be taken up by the other markets. He said this development will impact on Bureau of Customs revenues. Dominguez further said retail sales are also down since people now limit their time outside their homes, and this will affect revenues of the Bureau of Internal Revenue, or BIR. Dominguez, however, assured the public that the government has fiscal and monetary measures in place to address any impact of the virus on the domestic economy. Top leaders of indigenous peoples in Agusan del Norte vowed to support government measures against recruitment in campuses by the new People's Army. Board member Eddie Sulyahan Ampiyawan said he has secured the commitment of key IP leaders from different municipalities to help counter the NPA's recruitment of children and students. Ampiyawan said the tribal chiefs were shocked upon learning that at least 10% of students have indicated positive views for the communist rebels. What is worrying, he said, was that some of the students influenced by the NPA are located in IP communities. 23rd Infantry Battalion Commander Francisco Molina said they must alarm government agencies, especially the Department of Education. Meanwhile, National Commission on Indigenous Peoples Caraga Director Ferdowsi Serna underscored the need for more collaboration among government agencies to provide more support for DepEd and its teachers. Serna also advised DepEd to include the Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act in the school curriculum of IP students. Police arrested a soldier in General Santos City for selling shabu in continuing anti-drug operations in the provinces. More on this from Teresa Montemayor.
Police arrested two target-listed drug personalities and seized over 200,000 pesos worth of suspected shabu in an operation in Coronadal City on Tuesday night. Suspects Samrodin Kampangan and Cesar Sacramento Jr. were nabbed in an entrapment where an undercover operative managed to buy a sachet of suspected shabu worth 500 pesos. They yielded 7 sachets of suspected shabu weighing around 33 grams with an estimated street value of 224,000 pesos. The two were included on the target list of the city police and the Drug Enforcement Agency. In General Santos City, operatives arrested an active member of the Philippine Army for allegedly selling shabu inside the bar early Wednesday. Private First Class Abdila Diao Ali of the Army's 10th Infantry Division was nabbed in a buy bust at the YSP bar on Salazar Street in Barangay Dadyangas South. Ali denied the accusation and claimed that a woman he was with planted the shabu on him. He will be subjected to administrative proceedings and could face dismissal from service if proven guilty. Meanwhile, the Police Regional Office in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao conducted a surprise drug test on all officers based at the regional headquarters Tuesday. The surprise drug test was conducted by the Regional Crime Laboratory Office during a command conference. No one was allowed to leave the conference room unless they have undergone the test. PNP Chief Archie Gamboa issued the order on Monday as part of the intensified and sustained internal cleansing of the PNP. Police officers who test positive for illegal drugs would face administrative charges and be subjected to dismissal proceedings. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Teresa Montemayor.
Up next, health officials order the monitoring of OFWs from Wuhan, China past their quarantine period. And the Philippines launches its nationwide sale to draw in more tourists on March 1st. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Today, I woke up below the surface, where I learned to face my fears and go with the flow. But it's when I came to appreciate the big and the small. Made new friends from all over, and could no longer hide my true colors, that I knew I'd emerged a local.
Makalibay, no?
The Department of Health will continue monitoring the health condition of Filipinos repatriated from Wuhan, China, even after they have completed the 14-day quarantine period. DOH Assistant Secretary Maria Rosario Vergiere reported the 49 Filipinos quarantined at the Athletes Village in New Clark City, Tarlac, showed no signs and symptoms of COVID-19. The DOH is looking into the completion of the 14-day quarantine period by Saturday. Vergiere added the government will take them home to their respective provinces after the quarantine period. Even then, regional offices will monitor their condition for the next 2 weeks in case they show any symptoms. On February 19, about 29 adults and 1 infant arrived in the country from Wuhan, China, and were placed under a 14-day quarantine period to ensure they were negative of the disease. In sports, athletes in Baguio City will be more eager to compete internationally as the city works to increase their financial rewards. The City Council will pass soon the new Baguio City Sports Code that will increase and improve the benefits and welfare of city athletes. Incentives for elite athletes are expected to be doubled at the minimum. The new scheme will have a 500,000 peso windfall for a gold medalist in the Olympics, while a silver and bronze medalist will be 400,000 and 300,000 respectively. A coach gets 250,000 for a gold, while 200,000 and 150,000 will be given to the winner of either a silver or a bronze medal. Other international competitions with at least 8 participating countries will give up to 30,000 pesos in incentives to athletes who bring home a medal. Youth Representative and Councilor Levi Lloyd Orcalia said they are expecting to have an updated sports code approved anytime soon and implemented by the month of April. The Philippines is launching the 2020 Philippine Shopping Festival, a nationwide sale that seeks to rival Singapore's Great Sale and Hong Kong's Summer Sale. The nationwide sale will run from March 1st to 31st through participating malls. A variety of Philippine-made items will be featured as a way to support local craftsmen and artisans as well as their communities. Meanwhile, airlines including Philippine Airlines, Cebu Pacific Air, AirAsia, and Air Carriers Association of the Philippines will slash off airfare tickets to spur domestic tourism. Travelers can also look for cheaper hotel accommodations. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat says elevating the shopping experience will go a long way to enhance the attractiveness of the country's tourist destinations. She said leisure, entertainment, and shopping tourism is one of the 10 products they want to further develop in the next few years. With a nationwide sale, the DOT is optimistic the country will be put on the map as a destination where shopping is fun, unique, and affordable. Here now is the latest in our community billboard. The Department of Social Welfare and Development Office is calling all filmmakers in Ilocos Norte to join the first ever film festival, which runs starting this month until May. Cinecada, a Pantawid Pamilya Film Festival, is open to all filmmakers. The selected filmmakers may produce a 10-minute short film on the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, which will be premiered on May 22. The agency will provide the filmmakers topics and assist them in video shooting in the actual areas where 4-piece beneficiaries are located. The top 10 filmmakers will receive a cash prize of 25,000 pesos each, and the 3 minor awardees will receive 5,000 each as consolation prizes. For the details of the competition, contact 0927-999-2797 or visit the DSWD Ilocandia Facebook page. The deadline of submission of entry forms is on February 29. And here's another look at today's biggest stories.
The Sandigan Bayan affirms the dismissal of the forfeiture case against the late President Ferdinand Marcos and his family and cronies. President Duterte orders the relief of all immigration personnel tagged in the bribery of Chinese BOGO workers. Leaders of indigenous peoples in Agusan del Norte express support in the campaign against NPA recruitment in schools. And the Philippines launches its nationwide sale to draw in more tourists on March 1.
Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out more news content, check our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day.